I would prioritize a little bit to have that certainty to be within 1 kilometers of St. Nicholas. And of course, we are looking at a quantum perspective. 2.5 million, if we were to go to say like District 15, you are getting like a 3-bedder, or sometimes you cannot even find like a 3-bedder with that kind of pricing. So at 2.5 million for something that is brand new, 4-bedder, super attractive.
So actually 3+ yard is one of my sort of category. Assuming that I'm a family profile, I'm coming in maybe for St. Nick's, then I would want something that is of a decent size. I would prefer something with a store and a yard for my own family. And maybe in future, if I do need a helper, then there's that provision of space for that as well. Okay, that's enough.
Should I restart everything
I'm looking
again?
at the camera though.
Okay, one more time.
Hey, shorten a bit Wayne, the intro.
Short lah.
Lentor Hill, part 2 of the series, 62%. So today we're just going to cover what is the best buys or the remaining units, still can buy or not. And let's go!
You have to pay a premium to enjoy the void space that comes along with this penthouse unit. This entire project.
Something that's very interesting is that on this particular step, which is step number 1, arrival drop-off point, you have a gym. So we're gonna head in. Let's go.
Mission control, we have liftoff.
Alright, so welcome back to another episode of our new launch banter series. Today we're going to cover Lentor Hills Residences Part 2, where we're going to uncover whether in the remaining units of Lentor Hills Residences, are there any more units that are good buy, and should you even consider the remaining units in Lentor Hills Residences? Joining me today, we have Joanne and Rong in the studio. So before we kickstart, just a quick refreshment of what Lentor Hills Residences is. So this is a 99 years project that's launched in the Lentor Hills Enclave. It's a project that comes with 598 units that's made up of mainly 1-bedrooms all the way to 4-bedrooms and dual key units. So as of today, Lentor Hills Residences was sold 62%, of which right. There are about 37% left, and there's still a variance of units of multiple bedrooms that are available. Yep. Of course, there's one particular unit type that was fully sold, and that's a 1-bedroom. So today we're going to uncover the rest of the remaining units from 1+ study all the way to 4 bedrooms.
Yeah.
And we're going to let the audience know what are the good buys that are remaining. Right, so maybe for a start, Joanne, you want to share with us more about this particular project as of today's status?
Can. So what happened during launch was that for this project itself, Lentor Hills Residences, on launch weekend, actually about 50% or 298 units were sold altogether. During the launch, the prices actually started from about 1,008 PSF upwards with an average price of around 2,000 PSF. So your 1-bedders were around your 900 odd K, 2-bedders 1.6, 3-bedders 1.8, and 4-bedders 2.5 and upwards. Of course, something unique for Lentor Hills is also that we're seeing the sort of a comeback of dual key kind of a configuration for this project itself. So for Lentor Hills Residences, there are dual key configurations for your 3-bedder and your 4-bedder as well. And I think the PSF performance for Lentor Hills overall during launch is also quite aligned with that of Lentor Modern, right? There's a lot of kind of a good performance, good buys. We also see that a lot of the buyers back then in September 2022, those who sort of missed out on Lentor Modern, they're coming back and going back into the Lentor area with Lentor Hills, it being, just right beside the integrated project with the sheltered sort of a linkway. It's still very close to a lot of amenities and conveniences. You see that it's also doing very well. So for the majority of Lentor Hills Residences, we do see that the balance units tend to be some of the bigger unit types as well. We're going to deep dive a little bit more into that. But I think in our part 1 video, we also touched a little bit on the location. So I think for all those for our audience who kind of missed the part 1, maybe you can also just do a quick recap in terms of the location. Right. So Lentor right here, this is actually your northeast part of Singapore, and typically northeast in the last, I think 5 to 10 years, we are seeing it as a very top performing region. A lot of transactions year on year. And generally northeast is also known for being a very high density. You have a lot of HDB, a lot of condos there as well, but not too much in this Lentor area, because this is basically kind of like a new master plan transformation, a new township that the government is really injecting a lot of amenities, facilities and residential as well. So for Lentor itself, we are right beside the MRT, and Lentor Hills is actually also in the surrounding of your Hillock Park, 2 minutes via a sheltered linkway to MRT and mall itself. And of course, the nearest MRT is Lentor. And we all know that the Thomson East Coast Line has already, started operations for the top part of your for your Thomson portion. That is already in operation. And if you look at deep dive into the sort of Thomson East Coast Line itself, what we notice is actually this line actually sits on a lot of high valued stations like your Upper Thomson, your Orchard, your Marina Bay, your Stevens. And in fact, this first half is already completed. Right now, I think the LTA is also ramping up efforts to finish construction of the balanced East Coast part. I think the estimated timeline is also around 2024, correct. So all this, I believe once all these are done, it will also help to inject a lot of convenience for people and residents staying along here as well. So I think overall for Lentor area, we're just 9 stops down to Orchard. And of course, your PSF at Orchard is already about 3,000, high 3,000 or 4,000 for the newer projects. And for Lentor itself, very convenient. In terms of driving as well, there's going to be your north-south corridor that's going to be up. So that will also ease up a lot of congestion along the area as well. Yeah, so I think with the Thomson East Coast Line, that's going to be up and full running by 2024. That's going to bring a lot of convenience. And I think diving in deep into this particular area, locale itself, I think for Lentor, firstly, what we're seeing, some of the USPs for Lentor Hills. Firstly, it's right next to your Lentor Modern, which is the pink color plot, right next to integrated, but yet you don't have to bear with all the crowd and the hustle and bustle at the integrated mixed development. You get to enjoy all the conveniences, the facilities, and of course the sheltered linkway towards the MRT, correct, itself. That's number one. I think the second thing is if you look at the master plan, you also notice this huge plot of greenery that's right in the middle. That's your Hillock Park, which is also something that kind of holds all the different projects together. So I think Lentor Hills Residences, or in fact a lot of these projects around here, are also designed with the concept of greenery and nature, being near to all these green notes around. And I think thirdly, the other thing is if you look at this entire, zoom out just slightly, you notice that surrounding there's a lot of landed enclave as well. So low density, but yet you are in one of the newest projects in the area. You're going to enjoy a lot of great views for those that are actually fronting outwards, not having all the congestion. And I think in our part 1, we also mentioned something about the wind flow design, planned by URA just to maximize and enhance the kind of ventilation throughout the project here as well.
But I think the more important thing about Lentor Hills Residences, I believe in some of our videos, we always talk about this thing called the first mover advantage, right? So I think it's also important to note that right now, if you look at the whole entire master plan, there's so much developments in the whole area. But right now, you only see Lentor Modern being built there, and there's a couple of projects that's being announced. So of course, Lentor Hills Residences is the second one that was being announced over there. So in a way, it basically gives users that first mover advantage into the whole entire development of the Lentor area in the future. Right? I think that's the important part.
Yeah, this is a very good question because I think a lot of clients also always ask me, hey, I think is there going to be an oversupply issue? Because there are 10 plots of residential land development. And usually I like to buy into an area where I have a lot of other surrounding developments because over time when it's being constructed, the future land bids will likely be higher.
Right.
And hence it help me to anchor my pricing. But of course, let's assume that, let's say, the land bids stays the same. So what happens? Then we always want to see whether the project that we buy into, does it have any unique kind of positioning? So of these 10 plots of land, currently 5 plots have been sold. Right. So of course, Lentor Modern has its own uniqueness because of it being the only integrated development. And of course, for Lentor Hill Residences, right, you realize that actually out of these 10 plots, only 3 projects are within 1 kilometer distance to actually our St. Nicholas School, which is one of the most popular. If you're not within 1 kilometer in a public place, you have no chance to get in. And so that already differentiates itself from the other 7 projects.
Exactly.
So we always look at the unique factors. And of course, I love being in a low density landed zoning. Why? Because it also means that a lot of these landed homeowners, sometimes, when their children start to move out, they are a potential exit audience in the sense that they will love their kids to stay around them. Yeah. So you usually see that condos near landed enclaves, their pricing perform better. That's one as exit audience. Second thing is they might be your potential buyers as well because sometimes,
they want the right size, right?
they want the right size. They don't want to climb stairs anymore.
Correct.
Yeah, so like they stay at the third floor, then they slowly move to the second floor, and then like they say, okay, maybe it's time for
Maybe
me
it's a bit
to, you know, like,
too much to manage the whole entire project,
Yes,
whole
yes.
entire building
Yes.
unit, right?
yeah, and stop the climbing. So they rather have like a single floor plate condominium. So these are very, very good exit audiences, and a very good bonuses that I really love is this like Hillock Park that is right in the center. The reason why is because, right, what we want is like the kind of lifestyle where once you exit from your condo development, usually what do you look for? Convenience. You have access to MRT station, you have access to your fair price F&B, not just opposite. But yet at the same time, right, you have the quietness and also the greenery that if you want to go for like walks with your loved ones, it is just right outdoors. Plus, the greenery and the parks actually help to space out
Right.
the development. So it gives you a lot more setback than your opposite neighbors. So this project will probably be the few rare ones that even though you are external facing, you will still feel very comfortable because of this like setback. Yeah, and of course the wind ventilation and all that has been calculated by URA to make sure that the wind flow is good.
And
to
I think it
maximize.
helps a lot, especially when if you look at the whole site plan, how the blocks is being pushed towards the parameters of the land itself.
Yes.
So which means that it gives the whole entire development in the middle a breathing space, at the back a breathing space. So that basically helps to allow a lot of like wind flow, circulation of air and stuff like that. Like, it also gives a lot of like privacy between the units lah.
So this project, like what we mentioned, I think like I always tell the clients that hey, this project will be very hot,
Very auspicious number.
very auspicious because you look at the site plan, it's like a bar, right? The bar characteristic.
Yeah.
So and like what Wayne mentioned, all the facilities are all smack the center.
In the
Number
middle.
one, it doesn't feel so claustrophobic. If you are in internal facing, I think you have a good kind of like, you know, like view vantage point as well. So I think maybe let's head on to the next part of the discussion.
Right.
So just a quick skim through developer for Lentor Hills Residences. This is a project that is going to be jointly developed by Hong Leong, Guocoland as well as CHIJ. And of course, we all know that Guocoland has already gotten its stake in a lot of the land plots around that area. They are very keen in developing this whole township. And just to take a quick look at some of the past projects in terms of their track record for Guocoland, you also notice a pattern, right? They like to go into areas and kind of rejuvenate the whole area with its kind of a plans, putting in new projects, new facilities to kind of refresh the entire area as well. Some case studies are like your Midtown Modern that is down in the Bugis area. You also have Mayor Mansion that's towards your District 15, East Coast. And then lastly, you have your Avenue, D9. So you do see this kind of a pattern and behavior whereby Guocoland being a very strong and renowned developer, they know what they're doing. They know their plans before entering into an area, and they have the solid resources and sort of strategy to transform that vicinity as well. So I think for residents and buyers going to this area, not to worry, you have a very strong developer on hand.
The other plus point is also like they have they are involved in 3 plots out of the existing 5 plots. And one thing is, of course, you know, like from that angle, it feels a little bit like a master developer where, you know, like you can think of how each project can have their own unique positioning such that, you know, it can stand out to attract their own unit for a buyer pool.
And also to maintain an identity for themselves
Definitely,
as well. Yeah.
definitely.
So this is actually what
These are the land plots that have been sold. So with the handwriting that from Joanne, it tells us, you know, like what is the land bid pricing.
Yes.
So for Lentor Hills Residences, the land bid price is at 1060 per square feet per plot ratio. And you can see that it is one of the lowest in terms of like the land bid pricing. So that is why later when we share about the price analysis, you can realize that actually it is priced very attractively.
So of course, in April, we see that this adjacent plot to Lentor Hills was actually sold, of course, at a more attractive kind of a land bid price. However, we also know that it may not necessarily also translate to a lower sort of a launch price because being the main developer in this area, they also have the strategy in order to kind of protect the earlier launches as well, and to also ensure that whatever prices that they're launching at is also in line with the market trends as well.
And that's also because now the different authorities are doing this harmonization in terms of, you know, like square footage, that all the different entities are using the same sort of like
Unit of measurements.
unit of measurement to define how much square footage that can be built. And so end of the day, what it means is that, in short, simpler terms, is that nowadays projects can only build sort of like lesser square footage as compared to before. So hence, in terms of your sort of like a per square feet, in terms of unit pricing, from that angle, it doesn't mean that the developers can sell like sort of lower pricing.
They will have to make up for that difference.
For the missing amount that they couldn't build.
Let's go right into the action of today's discussion, where we're going to talk a bit on the remaining units. So looking at the launch, of course, we all know that as of today, there are remaining about 224 units that was left. So that basically adds up to about 37%. So one bedroom is all fully sold out. So there are a couple of units that are remaining. Interestingly, the dual key units is basically like half-half. So the 4 bedrooms dual key, 8 units sold 4, left 4. Your 3 bedrooms dual key units sold left 5. Right, so you have quite a couple of units. So let's say for family buyers who are interested to go in there, maybe because of CHIJ St. Nick's, there are still quite a couple of units that are very family driven, very family centric, like your 3 bedroom, 3 bed plus yard, 4 bedrooms. In fact, for some of them who are willing to consider dual key concept, you still have options that's available. Right.
So I think one thing that they can discuss is all the blocks within 1 kilometers of St. Nick's.
Yeah. So what are the blocks? Do you have the number?
Okay, so maybe we can go to the site plan first.
Yep.
So of course, we have tried our best from developer standpoint to write into MOE and all that to confirm what are the blocks that are within 1 kilometers. Because for some of the audience who may not know, if let's say within a project, right, that doesn't mean that all blocks will be within 1 kilometers of top schools. So for example, in this scenario, block 31 and block 33 is, okay, there is no confirmed answer from the authorities, but based on the drawing, 31 and 33 is confirmed within 1 kilometers.
It's safe.
So what we are unsure about is whether 35 and 37 can be potentially included as well. So if let's say, for example, you are looking for a home to be within 1 kilometers of like St. Nick's, then maybe you might want to play it safe to consider 31 and 33.
I think because just based off the site plan and the sort of categorization that we see, there are still your bigger unit types. Your 4-bedders, your 3-bedders, even your 2+ study, which are your blue ones, and your 2-bedders. Basically, I think what the developer did in terms of planning this entire project was to also space out and spread out the different unit types across the different blocks. So for buyers, I think going for 1 km to St. Nick's, you want to be focusing on block 31 and 33. There are still some of the larger unit types that are available as well.
Based on the latest numbers that was being transacted, the amount of units that are still available. So in blocks 31 and 33, the 4 bedrooms units are still available as well. So there are still quite a couple of 4 bedrooms, your 3 bed plus yard. So these units, they are still available. In fact, quite a number of 4 bedrooms are still remaining in the blocks that we think that is within the 1 kilometers from CHIJ St. Nick's, right?
Of course, this is not to say that the remaining 3 are actually, sort of your less choicer units, because the fact is that, in fact, all these are actually your north-facing units. And the north-facing units, based on the site plan, we do know that these are actually fronting towards your Lentor, sort of Lentor Modern and the other project site. So potentially some of these units, especially those, if I go back to the site plan, this site, inner facing, you also do get to enjoy the pool view as well. So these are just some of the considerations that buyers may want to take as well. Okay, so looking at the floor plans, which is something that we didn't have the info back when we did the part 1. So just to quickly skim through some of the stack analysis, right? This is your 1-bedder, which is the smallest configuration for Lentor Hills. Of course, this particular sort of unit type has already been fully sold out, but I think the size-wise for 1-bedder is still pretty decent, 452 and 484. So pretty standard kind of configuration. Of course, certain units stack does come with window in the bathroom, whereas others don't. So that's just something to note as well. For 1+ study, I think we still have about 9 units that's left for this particular configuration. Just something to note is that for your study, it's also something that is connected to your bathroom as well. So depending on your choice as well. For stack 29, you also note that this part actually comes with a kitchen that potentially could be easily enclosed, whereas the other stack is kind of more like an open concept kitchen. So these are some of the main differences that we notice as well. 2-bedder, 2-bed, 2-bath. Interestingly, Lentor Hills also doesn't have your 2-bed, 1-bath. So I think that's great because the developer also knows the kind of demand for your 2-bed, 2-bath.
I think one of the good things of like how Lentor Hills Residences they structure is that this is very efficient in terms of the square feet wise for like a 2-bed, 2-bath. So you can see that 678 square feet, 689 square feet, 710, 721 kind of square footage. So what it means is that when you have like an efficient floor plan, you basically do not have to fork out such a high quantum. So overall, it is more affordable for you to enter as well as for your next potential buyer to get from you your unit.
So for this particular category, most of the units are actually in your sort of dumbbell kind of layout, except for 2F. So 2F actually is your quite a standard kind of layout where all your bedrooms are tucked to one side. I think this will be good for buyers who are more particular about privacy. You want your resting area to all be within a certain corner and your main communal area at the other side as well.
Yeah, what you get is basically a walk-in foyer.
Correct. Yes, you do have this walk-in space.
So generally, you can see that usually dumbbell layouts, you are able to create like a smaller space because you don't need to sort of like plan for that walkway space towards the bedrooms.
Yep. Correct. So
maybe let's just go the 3-bedder and 3+ study because this is where the main availability is at.
2+ study, you also have 6 different layouts. Zooming in straight to your 3-bedders, basically 4 different types of layouts, and you also notice that they all are your pretty standard kind of layout where you don't have any dumbbell. You get your sort of privacy where all the bedrooms are tucked to one side as well. And I think for 3-bedders, this is also the category, 3-bedders upwards, you get to enjoy your windows in the bathroom because I believe for the smaller categories, actually your common bath and your master bath doesn't actually come with your window as well. So I think that's great.
But one of the more unique kind of layout is actually a 3B for like the 3-bedder. So you can see that usually what happens is that when you come into the entrance, turn left or right is where your kitchen is. So for this, if you realize that number one, this layout actually offer like a more like on its own kind of living dining space because the kitchen is at the near the hallway towards the bedrooms. So I think like this is a little bit unique as compared to like a lot of other developments.
Correct. For 3C, something interesting we noticed is this is also the only layout that kind of give you that horizontal format. Whereas the other 3 layouts for your 3-bedder are more of the sort of vertical one where your dining is right beside the living. So I think for those who are looking for more of a landscape kind of format where your dining is actually situated behind your living to be able to enjoy.
Already.
Yeah.
3C is fully sold.
So I believe, not a surprise as well. This is likely going to be the most popular one.
Because there's only 8 units. The quantum is the lowest for this layout because it's 8 floors, but because you also look at the entrance foyer.
Yeah.
And if I'm not wrong, it's sitting on top of the childcare center.
Yes, you're right.
So this is right in front. So of course you have your little bit of your road facing.
But definitely landscape kind of configuration for like a 3-bedder is pretty rare.
It's very, very rare.
So this is your 3-bedder, and for Lentor Hills, you also have your 3+ yard as well. So I think for homeowners who really need the extra yard space and your home shelter, then this would be a configuration that would work for you as well. So in the previous 3-bedder compact, the difference is that you don't have this home shelter and the lack of a yard space. But right here within, you do have this kind of dual. Of course, you can use it as your storeroom, or if you can use it as your helper's room if you need to as well. I think some buyers do that as well.
There's also additional WC at the back of
the kitchen. Yes, correct. Additional WC.
So I think this kind of layout, if you look at some of the other launches that we have seen so far, the 3-bed plus study, the 3-bed plus yard kind of like layout is very much above 1,000 square feet. But it's hovering between 1,000 to 1,100 odd square feet. So I think that the whole entire layout is pretty much in line to today's design for a 3-bedroom plus yard design.
So I think like overall the main difference in terms of square footage difference is mainly on the walkway areas.
Yep.
And of course it depends on like whether you are above level 9 or below level 9. Because you can see that for, let's say for example, like when some of them, when you're above certain levels, right, you have that balcony that is squarish in shape. The rest you might have this sort of like a little bit of angular balcony. So this is to create that kind of difference in facade
Design.
for the development.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is your 3+ yard, and then the next category would be the
4-bedroom.
one of the largest configuration right here, your 4-bedder. So mainly 4 different stacks here as well. 4 different kind of layout configuration. Largely quite similar. I think one of the key difference is certain layouts do come with the additional sort of walkway entrance, this corner, this small little nook. You notice 4A and 4B, you also have your home shelter that's tucked at the entrance. Whereas for 4C and 4D, your home shelter for 4C, home shelter for 4C is in the middle. And then for 4D is also somewhere at the entrance as well. Yeah.
So for the ones that are actually tucked at near the entrance, right, this is pretty good because if you were to have your ID do the enclosure nicely, you wouldn't know that actually it exists. So
You
it
thought
will be
it's just a
concealed.
wall, right?
Yeah, it will conceal pretty nicely over there. I think that is quite perfect if let's say you want to use it as like a storage kind of space. So maybe what we can focus on is, okay, for each unit type, what are the stacks that we want to look at and why, and what are sort of like the pricing that we are expecting.
Okay. So since we're at 4-bedder, maybe let's just look at your 4-bedder stack options as well. So you do have units that are facing inner as well as outside, sort of external facing for your 4-bedder.
4 bedrooms right now, if you want to identify, it'll be stack 31, 28.
So personally, my favorite for like a 4-bedder is actually stack 2.
Stack 2.
Why?
Stack 2.
External facing.
And one of the rationale is, of course, I would prioritize a little bit to have that certainty to be within 1 kilometers of St. Nicholas. And of course, we are looking at a quantum perspective, right? So for example, if we look at stack 2, right, the starting price at a 0202, for example, second floor, it starts at $2.535 million at 1,885 per square feet. If we were to put things into context, so a 4-bedder, 2.5 million, if we were to go to, say, like District 15, you are getting like a 3-bedder, or sometimes you cannot even find like a 3-bedder with that kind of pricing. So at 2.5 million for something that is brand new, 4-bedder, super attractive. And of course, we look at in terms of like the premium wise, if we were to look at units that are internal facing, for example, stack 3, that additional in terms of facing, if let's say you prefer like inward facing, is about 130k for like the same floor kind of unit. And if we go to other stacks, for example, your stack 28
31.
or 31, it will go to about like $2.7 million.
Which is more the pool facing. So you're paying a lot more premium for that pool facing, right?
Yeah. So generally is if I want to be internal facing, I'll go for stack 3. If not, I'll go for stack 2. So that is for myself. What about you guys?
I think personally between, I agree with what Rong said as well. But I would actually go for stack 3 over stack 2. Because I think for my family owned stay, I think right now my assumption is I'm buying this for my family owned stay. And I would prefer something that is of a quieter sort of a facing, and I get to enjoy that pool and greenery facing as well. And over stack 31, of course, I would choose stack 3 or 28 just because the block to block distance is also slightly wider compared to the other side of your, character 8, where it is actually tapering a little bit more narrow. So I prefer a better sort of a more ideal block to block distance.
Something very interesting is even though stack 2 is external facing, right? Just not to forget that there is the future green finger towards the Hillock Park in the center. So that that is about like 30 meters. So it creates a lot more additional setback as compared to your neighboring project. And you'll be actually seeing a lot of greenery as well. So that's why most of the time, a lot of times when people buy condos, they like to look at internal facing because they know that the view is not going to change. Right. And over here, when I look at people who like to look for external facing, is maybe sometimes you get to have unblocked views if you are high enough. And a lot of times what we want to know is what are we seeing if we are doing external facing? Is it going to be quiet? That's the most important thing. Yeah. Because actually, end of the day, internal facing or external facing, right? The good thing is we know that at stack 2, we are seeing a future condo development, right? So it's going to still look nice, but I'm going to have that green buffer, green finger to have that additional kind of setback to give me that privacy. I'm going to see a lot of greenery space because that is the walkway towards the Hillock Green area.
For me, because I'll be buying price conscious. So when I look at price conscious, definitely I'll be looking at either 2 or 3 lah. So it's just basically balancing of whether do I want to go for the internal, and I also recognize the fact that those units at the bottom will actually have a much further distance towards the other block. So it's either between the 2 and the 3. So whichever unit that's available. But definitely I'll be going for the higher floor unit than the lower floor one. So that's my own personal preference.
But 4-bedders at 2.5 million quantum for something that is brand new, I would say that like it is really attractive.
But it's very interesting why they price. Okay, so maybe this is also for discussion. So it's very interesting when we look at the pricing, right? Stack number 34 and stack number 37 are 4 bedrooms as well. They are also external facing. And it's also nearer to Lentor MRT station if you talk about just walking out from your block to the train station. So probably is that the reason why they are pricing that to be more expensive than stack number 2?
I would say that partially one of the pricing premium is that like there is going to be lower density in this tower. So because like this tower is the only tower that has 4 units per level.
Right.
And of course, if you go to see like stack 31 as well as stack 33, you have the highest density per level because of like same thing, you'll probably have 2 lifts, but you have like more units. So that's why there's a little bit of premium in a Tower 39. And of course, a little bit shorter accessibility in terms of towards the
Amenities.
MRT station
And
as
the
well as
mall.
amenities.
Mm.
Yeah, but,
Right.
but I would say like the main difference for me is the 4 units per level.
Okay.
Right.
Almost like a point block kind of fashion.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 plus, yeah.
Yep. Let's look at 3 plus yard. So actually 3 plus yard is one of my
Top picks.
in terms of a unit sort of a category, 3 plus yard. Because again, assuming that I'm a family profile, I'm coming in maybe for St. Nick's, then I would want something that is of a decent size. I would prefer something with a store and a yard for my own family. And maybe in future, if I do need a helper, then there's that provision of space for that as well. So for 3 plus yard, I believe it should be the dark pink one.
Yep. 23, 20, 32. So those are the colors for 3 plus yard. And interestingly, stack number 33 currently has the most number of units that's not sold.
Stack which one?
23. The top part of
23,
number
this
8.
one.
Yeah,
Right.
correct. So
My personal preference for 3 plus yard will be stack 12. Same angle as compared to, similar angle as compared to how I picked stack 2 just now, because I want to sort of like have a higher assurance that I'll be within 1 kilometers of St. Nicholas.
but why not 7?
Sorry, 7 is fully sold.
I think for me personally, again, for own stay kind of a mentality, I'll go for 20. Also because I noticed the different blocks, right? Like what Rong mentioned earlier, 35 is also not the one with the least number of units, but I think the second lowest. So, and this is probably the only, is 23 or 4 bedder also?
23.
3 plus, yeah, I think it is. Yeah, but 23, so for block 35, you have 2 options for your 3 plus yard, either stacks 23 or stack 20. 23 would kind of be at the tip already, and this is also, you may get a little bit of your western kind of facing as well, given that this is your north. So I would go for 20 for your 3 plus yard.
So if let's say, for example, if like we know that eventually block 35 is going to be within 1 kilometers, then of course I think that 20 is a very good choice, because internal facing, you have the wide pool view, etc. And the pricing wise for 20 and 12, it is quite close as well. So for example,
20.
I think the
third
square
floor,
footage is also slightly lower.
2210.
Yeah.
So for example, 0720, right, is at 2.246. 0712 is at 2.225. So you can see that the quantum is the same, but of course, like 20 is going to have slightly better view. But what I want is the key towards St. Nicholas,
want the school
because
as well,
the profile will be very, very different in terms of like who I can exit my my potential buyers to. And so of course, preferably right now you can see that actually level 8 or level 9 in the different blocks are the sky terraces.
Right.
So you can of course decide whether like you want to go for above the sky terrace or below the sky terrace. But generally, if you were to just observe, right, once you clear the sky terrace, right, the difference in the floor in the pricing about $60,000 difference. So personally, let's say eventually, if let's say I'm looking for internal facing, I will definitely be trying to gun for something that is within lower than the sky terrace, because usually you have internal facing 7th floor, 6th floor, 5th floor. You enjoy the best
pool
in terms of like the vantage point in terms of looking at the pool as well, without paying an additional premium.
Right.
Yep.
So once you go too high, basically you're just looking to the opposite neighbors.
Yes. Alright. So I think for 3 plus yard, some of our picks would be stack 12. If you are, looking okay with external facing, or stack 20 if you are very, very particular and only want an internal pool view. Of course, the thing to note is that it's still not confirmed yet whether these 3 blocks over here are within your 1 km. So that's still something that's a pending confirmation. Okay.
So now let's go for the 3 bedrooms.
3 bedrooms will be your 4 different stacks. 13, 27,
1,
24,
3. There's
and
3
19.
Yeah, 3 stacks, right? Light pink.
Yes. So you have it over here. Blocks 35, you also have 2. 37, you have 1. And then lastly, stack 6, I believe. Your kind of
Stack
your
6 is
shorter
sold out.
stacks.
So interestingly, if you can see that all the 31, the family profile units are all being snapped up. 6 is being snapped up. 7 is also being snapped up as well.
6 and 7, because it is only
Yeah.
there's only 8 units. So it is the lowest floor, as in like in the entire building usually it's about 15 to 17 floors,
Correct.
but stack 6 and 7 is only until level 8. So of course, because of the number of choices, the quantum, so it's the first to go.
Right. So 3 bedrooms, we have stack number 24, 19, 27, which is the
And,
external facing unit. 24, which is the top external facing unit as well.
Yeah, and stack 13, I believe.
19 as well. It's also 3 bedrooms.
If you the only internal facing for a 3-bedder is actually stacked 13.
Yes. But it also kind of have to take note the block to block. It's quite near your opposite neighbor because you're at the tip of block 8 as well.
So just in context, 0713 is about 1.97 million. And if let's say, for example, if I don't need to have like an internal facing or like that 1 kilometers to Sanix, then I'll probably look at stack 19.
Yeah.
Let's say I buy 19, I buy 1.988, right? I might as well just buy 13. Then I have internal facing, I guarantee my Sanix.
Yeah, correct. I think at this point of filming, given that for blocks 31 and 33, only stack 13 is available. And if you need that 1 km, then I think 13 is your only choice. Yeah. Unless you are open to the other stacks, which may or may not fall in. But yeah, I think in terms of quantum, as what Rong mentioned, between the 3 stacks, 24, 19 and 27, then 19 seems like quite a good buy amongst the other 3.
I mean, if you want lowest quantum, then it will probably be stack 24 at the moment, 0524, 1.942 million. 27 and 19, 27 is almost fully sold.
27 is the one where your kitchen is along the corridor. It's a little bit more different. Yeah.
In a nutshell, if you look at the whole entire remaining units and based on the units that's being sold, units that's being available, and plus if you are into the market, you're considering the remaining units in Lentor Hills Residences, I believe it is very much largely coming down to the rationale of you buying and what's the objective of you buying and what's your profile of the family that you are in, or rather the profile of your current situation, whether are you buying for schools? Are you going for the scenic kind of like 1 kilometer? So if you are going for the scenic 1 kilometers, then definitely there will be certain units that are available which you can choose from, which is from block 31 and 33. But of course, if you are not, then basically there's a lot more options that's available, and that's where you look at the pricing matrix, whether do you personally prefer the internal facing stack or do you prefer the external facing stack where you are being in a way protected by that green finger on the top and on the bottom. So at least you are not looking right into your opposite neighbor. So I think that will be the kind of like mindset that you should be having like if you are looking at these remaining units that are available in Lentor Hills.
Of course, based on the PLB mode analysis, we are out of the 10 factors, we have 1 factor is called parents attraction factor, where we rank that, like if let's say you are within a school that is like very, very popular, it definitely helps you to, like secure exit. In the sense that because if you look at St. Nicholas Girls, there is not a lot of condos that's within 1 kilometers.
Right.
And one of the youngest ones is, of course, Panorama that is right beside. So it's about 10 years old already. And of course, in PLB, what we do in terms of our research analytics is we actually have a definition to actually see whether new launch or resale, actually whether the disparity effect, which one should we go for in a particular region space. So if we would just look at this disparity effect between new and resale condo, and so of course when we pull out like a Panorama right now, assuming we can get a unit 3+ study, 1141 square feet, it will be 2.25 million is probably already very hard to find. I think most owners are looking at least $2.3 million. Let's assume that we can get something at 2.25 million. We are also able to get something that is 3+, in a brand new development, the same quantum. If we will look at the per square feet over here, per square feet on surface, you can see that it is about 1971 PSF. And for something that's brand new is 2049. So you can see the disparity is very, very small at about $70 per square feet. So generally wise this gives you a glimpse of number one, if the price disparity is very, very small, then usually the new one might be a better pick. Of course, we still need to analyze whether is it because it's an atrocious layout or is it a boutique development? That's why the pricing is so close.
Right.
But of course, in this scenario, this is a good development size, 400 plus over units. The layout is pretty, I would say, standard. And then the other thing to note is that we also want to see whether Panorama has very high profitable transactions. And so you can see actually Panorama has very strong profitable transactions. So it means that in the resale market space, right, it is very popular. And hence, if we can buy something that is brand new at a similar pricing, then of course that gives us an advantage.
Yeah. So this is the price performance for Panorama actually. Performing very well. If you look at the sort
Number
of
profitable transactions, 177 profitable transactions, very, very healthy, 300 plus thousand, 400 plus thousand. There's even one that costs $1 million. That's the 5-bedder. and there is no unprofitable transactions.
Yep, that's right.
And this is because of few things. One, St. Nicholas, and second thing, because of the opening of Mayflower MRT station.
Right.
So of course, for Lentor Hills Residences, we are one MRT stop away.
Mm.
But one of the plus point is that we are nearer towards the MRT station with a mall with 10,000 square footage of supermarket space.
Right.
So I think that is a unique angle that you can have in terms of your exit audience as compared to Panorama, because you are 10 years younger, you have like Hillock Green Park as well. So if we use the PLB lease reset calculator, you can see that the resale condo, we are buying at 1971 PSF, we are actually valuing it at about 2193 per square foot. And so if we apply that lease reset formula to Lentor Hills Residences, it will be about 2070. So you can see that actually the new launch, it is sort of like a better value.
Correct.
That's like if today you can buy a brand new car, but then cheaper than the lower pricing, more attractive than the resale car, then I think it makes more sense to get the new one. Yeah, with some more with a 10-year longer lease in terms of runway.
Okay, so this is for resale, and I think in general to also, in line with what Rong mentioned, in general for this entire Lentor Ang Mo Kio area, we also observe that there's not a lot of resale supply in the area. In the resale market, if you are a buyer going, either you can go for the more mature 99 years, like your Seasons Park, your Castle Green, your Far Horizon Garden, which are still performing very, very well. If you look at the past sort of a return over the last 10 years, there are still quite decent performance around here. However, just to note that, these kind of belong to another era as well. Something of a newer and younger leasehold would be your Novo, which is closer towards your Yio Chu Kang side already. Otherwise, it would be Panorama, which is also a project that has done very well at launch as well. So in terms of performance, all these are still doing very well. And I think this goes to show that there's still a lot of demand in this area for buyers coming in, because I think at the start of the session, we also wanted to discuss whether there's going to be an issue of oversupply. But I think in our analysis, we do observe that oversupply only happens when the demand is not able to catch up with the supply. But I think in this area, although there are a lot of supply that's going to be planned out for the next 3 to 5 years, I think the demand there is still extremely strong as well.
We definitely mentioned about the unique positioning that this project has as compared to the rest of the projects that are in the area. And you can see that actually what was mentioned, like Seasons Park, Castle Green, Novo, Far Horizon Garden, all these are of course not within 1 kilometer of St. Nicholas.
That's right.
And if you want to go for Kelros freehold option number 1, the supply is very, very rare to come by. Once it comes out, it gets snapped up. And of course, the price quantum, let's say for 3-bedder,
2 million plus really.
I think definitely more than that. So far for Kelros, there are no sort of available supply for 3-bedder, 4-bedders. So looking at the past transactions for Kelros, doing very well. The latest caveat lodge for about 1,004, that's around close to 2.47 already. So I think if you look at the number of transactions, also extremely limited in that area as well, because I think a lot of the owners, they are also holding on to their property, either renting out or just using it for own stay as well, because in terms of freehold around the Lentor area, there's not too much as well. So I think they know their value, they're holding on as well. Of course, Thomson Grove is the other freehold. This is right outside your Lentor MRT. Also pretty old already, but in terms of clocking that percentage return, still performing extremely well for projects in the area. So I think in summary, we don't really think that there's going to be a huge oversupply concern because of the fact that the demand over there is still very strong. Of course, we need to also take note that different projects have different USP. Some are within your 1 km to St. Nick's, some have that proximity to MRT, some are not. So I think different preferences for different groups of buyers as well.
There was 2 things that we were sharing at the front at the start, right? Whether can we buy or...
Are there still good units available to purchase?
You see, there are still some 1,000, 8,000, 9,000. Of course, these are the lower floors. I think if you're not picky about, high floors, you don't need that view, but you want to secure that quantum, that PSF and the school, then I think there's still some good buys, definitely.
It may not be the school facing, it may not be the stacks that is at the school area.
All these are the lower floors and maybe
correct.
the other stacks. But I think in terms of if you're an investor and you're going in for the price.
I mean, if you look at the numbers for Lentor Hills Residences, the remaining units, there are still definitely several options that are still available.
Yep.
And if you look at the remaining units, they are all nicely spread across the the blocks. So I mean, of course, if you are going for that school attraction factor of St. Nicholas, then definitely you should be considering units that are in the 31 and 33 blocks. And definitely based on the pricing and the PSF perspective, the remaining units, we still feel that it's still at a very palatable and a very, I would say, value for money kind of like price matrix. But of course, if you are into those blocks or units that are pretty much like private, you like to enjoy the kind of like pool view, you still have options that's available in the stacks of the the blocks of 35 and 37. Yep. So ultimately, the whole entire Lentor Hills Residences is all about being close to amenities, but yet you are not in that integrated development or mixed development kind of like layout, or I would say the profile where you have the busyness of the commercial space below you.
I think just to conclude also, right, that if let's say, for example, today you are buying a 4-bedder over here, you can find something that is 2.6 over a million. If today I cross opposite to Lentor Modern, the 4-bedders would be about 3.1 kind of pricing. So you definitely have a disparity in terms of quantum for the 4-bedders for Lentor Hills Residences. If we were to look at the 3+ yard version, if you're not specifically trying to be within 1 kilometers of St. Nicholas, and you prefer a little bit more like the integrated living kind of lifestyle, then I think at the 2.2 over plus $1 million, I think you have also choices in Lentor Modern that you can still consider. So I think like it really depends on your personal preferences. And if you want a more in-depth consultation to see in terms of suitability, exit audience, your own investment strategy, then of course you can contact us. For our consult. So you can you can contact us. At like these details below. Then we are happy to give you a consultation.
Right. So thank you very much for staying with us in this second part series of Lentor Hills Residences. We hope that we have give you some insights of the remaining units available, plus also the pricing of some of the units. So if you are interested to find out more, do feel free to reach out to any of our new launch consultants, and we are happy to share with you more. Till then, thank you very much and stay tuned for our next video. Bye.
Bye.